Today we're going to go over the exact cardio system and strategy to get six-pack lean, below 10% body fat, and in the best shape of your life. We're going to talk about how more is not always better, the zones of cardio, exactly what you should do with actionable takeaways, and also go over the exact same strategies that I've used with over 50 of my clients to help them completely transform their bodies and get shredded. If you don't already know who I am by now, my name is Nolan Ulm. I'm an online fitness professional and D1 football captain. I help busy managers, executives, business owners get in the best shape of their life using metabolic priming and our science-based body system. So let's get into cardio and what exactly this entails, the system that we use for this, okay? There's a ton of mistakes that people make when they're getting into cardio. Here's one of our clients. This is 30 days into the program. He came in obviously at this place here and he's now down 20 pounds already. And we're not even really into the priming phase with him. We just went right into a deficit because he hadn't been in one before, and so there wasn't anything to crawl him out of. So now we're getting into our priming phase. And what we did, especially with cardio, this is where a lot of people go wrong. More is not always better. More is not always better. You have to manage cortisol. So let's go over and just look at, this was from our video last week. Dr. Ryan Zumwalt, he's the owner of Lighthouse Physical Therapy, true one percenter, a dude. Like we talk about in our program, we all are aspiring to be one percenters. He's definitely a one percenter. And when he came in, he was doing a ton of cardio. And so more is not always better because cortisol is so important when we talk about losing fat. And you have to manage the cortisol. So we're going to talk about the zones of cardio, but I just really want to hammer that home. A lot of times more is not always better, and it's not more of, the wrong things. It's got to be more of the better things, or sometimes less is more. Okay, so that's where a lot of people go wrong. The next thing is, like everything else, your body adjusts, right? So we talk about training cycles on the program, and that's a super huge thing, right? Science-based training. My years of playing football at an incredibly high level with the goal of going and playing in the NFL, playing professionally, there is a science-based thought process behind everything. And so just like with cardio, 30 minutes one day is not necessarily the same the next. That's so critical. Our body adjusts. It's a very adaptive machine, just like with metabolic priming. Like there has to be cycles. Just like everything else in life, there's seasons to grind, there's seasons to take, to rest and digest. The yin and yang, it's a universal principle in the universe. Not to get too deep, but you have to be very smart with, we need to increase cardio and then drop it down. Increase cardio, drop it down, and really cycle it so that we can get the most out of our body. Another thing that we need to talk about is that workouts really don't burn as many calories as you think. So if we go down here, right, like, for the same duration, cardio, this is straight from Google. You guys know I pulled this out just so, as a talking point. Cardio typically burns more calories than weight training. However, weight training offers other benefits like building muscle mass, right? So weight training is not to burn calories. It's to, increase those micro tears, build the muscle tissue, get stronger. And with that building of muscle, it increase our ability to burn more calories. So let's go back over to this grid real quick right here. We talk about this all the time, right? Where do we actually burn our calories? Well, 70% is our BMR. A way to raise that, is to go work out in the gym. You get more muscle mass, that burns more. But look at, right? Our calories burned during exercise, they're not really that high, right? They're not really that high. A lot of this, right? The NEAT, right? We're going to talk about that. It's a very big zone of cardio. It's burned just like throughout the day. And so when we get someone in the program, right? When we get someone in the program, we go over these 5 zones and we really stress this. Zone 1, zone 2, right? Walking, brisk walking. This is really huge because it burns fat. And we're going to get into this in a second. But just going back to this, right? Like your body adapts to regular cardio. The numbers of calorie burned during the same exercise session may decrease, right? So this is going back to the second point and how important this is, right? Your body becomes more efficient at using energy and performing the activity. So when we give the body a stimulus, right, where our bodies are meant to survive, are meant to thrive, and it does everything it can to protect us, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to adjust and it's going to get better at being able to burn carbs instead of fats. And that's the biggest thing that we're going to have to manage here. So we've got 5 zones, and really these 3 are kind of in their own category, and these 2, a lot of people will never get to zone 5 or need to ever. but these three are super, super important. Okay, so when we talk about zone 1, right, this is very light. This is 50% to 60% of our max heart rate. To get your max heart rate, you take 220 and you take away your age from it. Okay, so say you were 40, your max heart rate would be 180. Okay, so that's a really easy calculation you can make. Just to understand like the percentages. For most of you, it's not going to be, it's going to be in that same range, right? Like most people that we have in the program are anywhere from really 30s to 50s and anywhere in between that. So it's kind of going to be the same range. So 50 to 60% of your heart rate. So if it was 180, it'd be 90 beats per minute, right? Would be 50% of 180. So this is walking, light cycling, able to talk. The biggest thing that I want to emphasize about zone 1 for you to understand is that the fuel source is fat. 80% of calories are fat. So this is super huge. We're going to get into the actionable takeaways, from the at the end of the video. But what we do with our clients is, as a base, the standard is 10,000 steps. Now we also use steps, though, as a gas pedal to this NEAT, right? This non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? Big word, just NEAT. That's all you need to remember it, right? We use this right away because a lot of times when someone will come in, if they're doing a ton of these other zones, these higher zones of cardio, we'll bring them in, we'll get them to walking. That drops their cortisol and they'll actually shed a ton of fat right from that because it helps their BMR, which is everything, right? So at the end of the day, right, we are adaptation machines, right? So that is zone 1. Okay, zone 2, both of these you can talk. This one, it's a little more, you're walking fast, you're maybe cycling, you're not going to talk while you're swimming. But you're still able to talk during this. So this is 65% of calories are fat. So this is 60 to 70% of max heart rate. So it'll be up a little bit, that 110-ish range as a base, be around there. Because your zone 3, this is about 130, 140. Okay, so this is a little more high intensity and around that range. So it'd be brisk walking, cycling. Really, you could start to do, incline walking, and we do a ton of Stairmaster, but Stairmaster most of the time gets into this, okay? So this is more difficult to talk. You still can talk though, but it's just more difficult, more effort. Now the fuel source shifts from fats, carbs, from fats to fats, carbs, and proteins. This is super important for you to understand. I really want you to have this takeaway after watching this video so you can get shredded yourself, this is where it starts to shift, right? 70 to 80% of max heart rate, okay? So this is super important to know that when we get up, when it's more difficult to talk, this is why we love having our clients having some sort of a heart rate tracker like a Whoop or a Garmin, or preferably something like that. Apple Watches aren't great. I don't really get super in detail, but like at the time of my life when I was training to increase my lactate threshold and really VO2 max, all that sort of stuff, I'd wear a heart rate monitor around my chest. That's going to be the most accurate, a Garmin with a heart rate monitor because it's closest to your chest. But those three are really our golden ones that we go for. So I'd highly recommend you get something to really track that heart rate. And what you can see is this is more jogging, intense strength training, rowing, fast cycling, right? 45% of our calories are burned, are fat, right? So it's shifting to carbs as the main fuel source. This is still incredibly good for general performance and health, but it's not the best for burning fat, okay? But yeah, this would be for us. We do incline treadmill. You can do rucking. You can do hiking, Stairmaster. I like doing that because for a lot of my clients, we don't need to have them running or doing anything that's really aggressive on your joints and your body. I still love running. If someone wants to, that's easy. We have people doing that as well, okay? So this is the next 2 zones, okay? So this is big time, and this is where people get stuck, okay? You do zone 4 for a couple weeks, you lose a ton of weight. Well, that's a ton of just like water weight. And it's not actually sustainable because you're burning carbs and protein. You're not burning fat for fuel. This is difficult to breathe. You guys know this. What's that one place called? F40 or something like that. When they're doing stations, things like that. This is aggressive running, power cycling, short bursts, right? So this is 80 to 90% of your max heart rate. This is a grind. Okay, and then zone 5, this is more for, very, very explosive, suicides, they would call them in basketball, or max, 300-yard shuttles. We do them in football, a ton of different things, just like aggressive sprints, hill sprints, max effort, gasping for air, fuel source, carbon, protein. A lot of people, you never have to do this. If you're an elite athlete, definitely would highly recommend. So let's just go to this, though. There's a study here, right? And what this study showed, right, is that the effects of zone 2 and fat burning were incredible, right? And so really the biggest takeaway that I want you to have from this is that these 3 zones from this study showed that this burns way more fat, and it reduces lactate through the blood. So the lactate is when you feel just all the acid in your muscles. What that's doing is it's literally you're signaling your body to stop as you're running, right? So there's this book called what is it called? It's about long distance runners, and specifically about Steve Prefontaine with Nike, and I think it's How Bad Do You Want It? And they basically talked about how like the biggest thing that holds people back from actually having a great 400-meter run, which would be your zone 5, you're going to your absolute limit, or a great mile time. Steve Prefontaine, the GOAT of long distance running, just an absolute savage, someone that I look up to a ton. And it's really just your pain threshold. So that explains to you why this lactate, it fills your body, and it's just your lack of ability to push through that. So what this does, right, it reduces the lactate through blood circulation, which stimulates recovery. What this does is it promotes more lactate and inflammation, right? I said it's going to fill your body with that, oh my goodness, I need to stop. And then you're using carbs. That's why it's so important for athletes to have carbs for workouts. And we really highly recommend, even with our clients as well, once we shift, when we're doing our more intense strength training, we want to have a carb before and a carb after to refill those glycogen stores. But understand that this is going to put you in a deficit really quickly, really, really quickly. You're going to burn through the carbs, you're going to burn through calories, but it's not necessarily going to burn fat, which our goal, right, is to burn fat and get to points like this where we are 6-pack shredded. I'll show you another one of our clients. We got a ton of them here. But here's Austin. This is before his full transformation, but that's how we actually burn this fat. We're not just burning weight, even though he was still 20 pounds down. So to recap all of this, right? We want to maximize our zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. And what do we do with our clients? I'll show you exactly what we do. So we start with 10K steps, and we start with 4 sessions of high intensity cardio. So like I said, we love stair climb, we love incline treadmill, and the heart rate around 130, 140. That's going to keep us in these 3 zones and more at this zone 3, because there still is a time and a place, especially to get into where you are burning through carbs a little bit more and you are burning those calories, right? But the biggest thing is we want to use all this to speed up our metabolism. So the steps are super, super huge. So we start with 10K steps, and then whenever we stall with fat loss, we'll increase steps up 2,000. And if we find that someone's bloated or they've been stuck for a while, energy is down, we really have a couple main levers: hunger, energy, strengthen your sessions. Depending on those, if we're really feeling that, we'll actually reduce the steps, even to 8,000 steps, or we'll just cut cardio completely, because sometimes the body needs a reset like that. And cortisol is such an important hormone that regulates that metabolism and will stop your body from going into fight or flight mode. So then as we go, we'll scale high intensity cardio up, per sessions per week, then minutes per session. So, we'll go to 5 sessions, and then we'll go, from 15 to 20 minutes, or 10 to 15, or whatever it is. But we never go over 5 sessions of cardio a week. So it's very, very dependent on the individual. And I wish I could give you guys all an answer for you specifically, but it's really dependent on where you're at in the situation that you're in. So as a base though, like just getting your steps, having that as a standard 10,000 steps is going to be so, so critical for you and for your fat loss, right? The issue I see though, people go over 5 times of cardio a week, and 3 of them are this. 3 of them are the high intensity friggin' burpees and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, because they did that really quickly and then boom, it crashed their metabolism, or they just get in a spot, right, where it's they're relying on this, during exercise or even the need. But the biggest thing is the BMR, and understanding that the cardio will increase cortisol if used too much, right? Like more is not always better, and that's not how we get to these results where we're down 20 pounds and it's sustainable, and then you're in a spot where you want to be, right? So those are the 5 zones of cardio. Start with your steps and then increase the high intensity. And then what I would recommend too is just once you kind of see the big things you're going to look at is your weight, your body composition, your hunger, all that sort of stuff. But if you can look and see when you really you're feeling burnt out or tired, that's when I would cut back and really do a deload week. We already do it with our training, and I'll make a video on that if you guys want. But it's going to be really, really important for you to understand that it's not always go, go, go. And sometimes when it's go, 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 you take a step back and you'll take 2 steps back in order to take, 4 steps forward, truly. So comment down below what else you guys want me to cover. I really appreciate you guys leaving comments so I can explain stuff like this and get you guys shredded. If you're someone who's struggling or looking to get in the best shape of your life, you've just been stuck doing, the same old garbage keto, the carnivore, just hammering cardio, there is a better way, and that's what we're here for. If you're looking for a science-based method that uses data to make decisions, just like everything else, like success in your business and all that sort of stuff, then just click down below. There'll be a link to book in for a call with me. We'll see if you're a good fit, if we can help you. If not, go follow me on Instagram. You can go check out, I got a ton of content on there as well. You can message me on there. We can talk back and forth, see if I can help you out. If not that, then like and subscribe. There's more videos coming out. I appreciate all you guys, all your support so much. Keep making it happen. The goal is to be a 1%er and impact your family tree through your fitness, and that's up to you and your decisions every single day. Make it happen. Out.